What's up, guys? Josh Bitar here for From the Stands, and today I'm joined by the man who you probably haven't seen on your TV screens for a hot second now, and we're going to get into why that has been and a whole lot more right now. I'm joined by Benny Mahoney, good friend of mine, Gold Coast boxer, and Benny, I guess a lot's been going on over the last year. A lot of people have been asking what's been going on. Before we get into that, I did want to touch personally on how you've been. I know you're getting married, you got engaged over the last year. So it hasn't all been doom and gloom for you. What's life been like on a personal level?
Look, for me, life's been good. Life's always good. I try and keep that in mind all the time. I'm very grateful for what I have and where we are. I am getting married in April, just under a month away, which is crazy, which I'm very, very lucky and blessed for. I'm very excited for. Got engaged just under a year ago. So, yeah, it's going to be an exciting process for that. Clients are good, life's good, I'm training, I've got a great circle, great support network, great everything, so I'm very fortunate. The fighting side of things has been quite difficult just due to the fact I've been inactive. I did last year, last March, I had my last fight on that no limit card where I broke my hand, so I had a few months off there, and then obviously the reason I haven't been fighting is a whole other story. It's been hard financially. Activity-wise, I'll go inactive as of March this year or as of this month. So it's been a bit of a process, but we're looking forward to get back into it and get the wheels moving again. Okay,
so March of 2023 was the last time we saw you against Kyle Mazudia, no limit on the Tszyu Harrison undercard. A fight I believe you won as well. Just putting out there, I'm not, I know. We're in the media, and I would tell you if I thought you lost, I would tell you I don't think you won, but I do think you won that fight. However, we haven't seen you since then in an in-ring sense. For everyone wondering, there's been a lot of people wondering, asking what's been going on, why we haven't seen you. From what you're able to say, what has been going on?
So obviously, the boxing industry is very sticky and tricky. You don't want to say the wrong thing and get yourself done for defamation and blah, 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 blah. But long story short, I'm kind of over it, so I'm willing to speak a little bit. But pretty much I've signed with the management about a year and a half ago. I won't say names, but we've signed and obviously got promised the world, got told this, that and the other, and pretty much I've had the two fights in that duration which have come to us, which we've bounced back to them, but I've actually had no actual fight offers contracted in the last 18 months. I've had nothing come to us. It's just been like, yeah, something's coming, nothing. We contact them, something's coming, just continuously rolling like that. And it's got to the point where I've voiced up a few times and decided to try to get myself away from the contract so I can get active and continue with my career. As you know, we all know we have a short time frame to do this. I'm getting towards my peak years. I'm getting close to 30, so I want to start moving. And they've come back and pretty much said no. I've now got a lawyer involved to try and get myself out. They've got their lawyer involved now. As it's an American contract, we have to go forward to the California Commission, so we've lodged with them. And obviously during this whole process, I'm not legally allowed to fight without my manager's consent. So it's not to do with me not being ready. I've been ready the whole time and I've been very vocal about it. It's not been, I can't get opponents. It's not because I'm not willing to fight opponents. It's just been because the person, when you sign with someone, for the guys that don't know, it is wholly and solely their job to get you fights. And if they don't, you don't fight. And that's kind of how a lot of fighters get stuck in this sport. So now it's been so long not able to fight, it's gone forward to, I suppose, the Commission's lodged it and we're looking for a date for arbitration, which we'll get a conclusion at the end of this. We're still waiting. We've been waiting since September odd. So I think now that we're kind of able to get the wheels moving in certain areas, again, I can't say too much, but that's been the gist of why I haven't been fighting. It's just been sitting, waiting, asking, training.
Was it harder, especially knowing there were big fights coming to the Gold Coast, and you look at a guy like Sam Goodman and the crowd he gets from Wollongong to come to the Gold Coast, and each time we covered, obviously, for those that don't know, I'm talking about the Tszyu versus Carlos Ocampo fight in June, and then there was a Tszyu versus Brian Mendoza, and I thought you would have been the perfect fit to fight on those cards, being Gold Coast Golden Boy, the moniker, and the support system you have here as well. I thought that would have been perfect to see you on those cards. Was it hard at all being here and seeing those cards take place in your backyard and not being able to throw your name in the hat to be featured on those cards?
Yeah, it's hard. It's always hard. When I see promotions, I see names, I see guys that I comfortably beat progressing and fighting. I see belts that I should have won going forward. I see guys that I would love to fight. You see up-and-comers progressing. You see the world moves, you know, and I'm stoked for everyone that's a part of it. But to sit back and know that I could be in the mix and progressing, you know, I've been fighting... When I was younger in the Muay Thai days, I was fighting 9 times a year. I've had 54 odd fights altogether. I've been fighting since I was 14, just back to back to back. So to have, you know, prior to this, a few injuries, having time off, one fight every 6 months a year, to now not fight for a full 12 months, of course it's hard, you know what I mean? It's all I know, it's all I do, it's all I've ever wanted to do. I rely on it for my income, I rely on it for my, in a sense, mental clarity. I'm trying to build my family from it. To be put on the halts and sit on the shelf getting dusty, it does suck. But like I said, as I know, once the wheels are moving and I'm back in, everything will go back to normal. I'll fight a few guys, I'll beat a few guys, I'll be back in the world. I'll go into the world ranks, and we'll start to move from there.
And just backing off that, was it hard seeing guys being so active as well? Because I know your thing is activity. You want to be active. Like you mentioned, it's your peak years of your career, you're entering your prime. So you want to get the wheels moving, and I suppose seeing guys like that still getting fights and being active and winning titles that you believe you should win, was that... It's not a jealousy thing or anything like that. It's like... I feel like it's normal to feel like that, where you're like, you just don't want to be stuck in that situation, I suppose. So what was that feeling like, I suppose?
Look, I'm stoked for all the guys doing their thing. I think that we're all in this sport for the same reason. We're trying to build a future for ourselves. We have to fight our way through certain situations in life. People don't just fight for the sake of it, right? So I understand that. But to think about what I've been going through, to think about my past life, to think about everything up to this, it's a personal thing. It's just I want to be active. I want to be fighting. I want to progress my career. All the power to everyone that wants to do it, but I just want to be in the mix and be progressing.
Let's move on to a positive then. Let's move away from that positive. You like I said to you before, you put a post up last night, so close, you can feel it in your balls. So a return is imminent, and it looks like 2024 is a possibility now that we will actually see you back in the ring. In that sense, what can you sort of say on your in-ring return?
I can't say too much, but I'll be back this year multiple times. I'm looking to have a busy back end of the year. As I said, I wouldn't have been able to fight prior to this time anyway, but I'm getting married in April. So we'll be looking, for me personally, mid-year. I reckon June, July, sometime around then. I'm looking to come back, and I want to stay very active. Once I'm back, I want to keep a nice steamroll on. I'd like to get 3 or 4 before the back end of this year is finished. I'd love to get world ranked before the end of this year, and I'd love to be going into next year looking up at a bigger scale.
So what does the next 12 to 18 months look like for you then? Is it, you know, a year or 2 years from now, you'll be 30, 31. What does this time from now to then look like, and something that we're, you know, in a couple of years' time we look back on and go, wow, you achieved all that. What is the plan and the focus? Because I know at one point it was to get out of Australia, head to America, and I know you went over there and you sparred and did great over there. So what is the sort of the plan moving forward for the next 12 to 18 months?
I think boxing as a word is subjective. Like, the whole thing is a shit sandwich. I think that everyone talks about, you need to go to America and you need to do this. You don't need to do anything, and you don't need to listen to anyone. I went to America. It was awesome. Great experience. Signed. It's completely, excuse my language, fucked the last 18 months of my life. So when people tell you to do something, you got to kind of stick in your own lane and do your own thing. I've learnt a lot of lessons. Unfortunately, I've learnt them the hard way because I've figured it out myself. When you have teams, big management, big financial backing, they're able to navigate you through everything. When you don't have that, like I said, I've come from a little Thai gym. I come out, I have no idea what I'm doing. Me and Josh just coming in, winging it, throwing overhands, trying to just knock everyone out and get to where we want to get to. Yeah. You get sucked in and you get chewed up and spat out sometimes. So I'm very grateful for the lessons I've learned, because it's made me kind of have alligator skin, and it's given me a good sense of where we're going and, you know, what to stay away from. But it's all learning, man. It's seriously moving forward over the next few years. I just want to win fights. I want to stay active. I want to get world ranked. I want to win a world title. and I want to make enough money to be financially stable for me, my future family, generational wealth kind of thing. I'm not focusing on any specifics because I know the goalpost move. Every time you do something, the goal changes, or the goalpost moves a little bit. So just activity, man. Fighting, belts, progression, and just do what I love to do.
There's a big card coming up end of the month, Tszyu and Keith Thurman. I guess I just wanted to sort of get your thoughts on that fight. I think it's a pretty interesting fight. Your division as well, super welterweight. And, you know, when people, I think Roy Jones said it, you know, Young Master forgot. And I think people forget about you in a sense where it was Tszyu and straight under Tszyu was you in the Australian rankings. I was actually telling someone that yesterday, talking about you in this interview, and I said there was a time where you were second under Tszyu at super welterweight in Australia. What are your thoughts on that fight? It's a big fight for Tim, return for Keith. I guess, what are your thoughts?
For what you mentioned about the ranking side of thing, a lot of guys think inactivity, you'll be inactive, they'll try and get me on the way back in. They think it's a benefit or a good thing. I'm telling you now, with the injuries that I've had been fixed, with the mentality I have now, with the hunger and the, I suppose, bit of vengeance in me, the next few guys are fucked. So if any up-and-comers or any old-school guys or anyone thinks they can jump in on me and get it over, you got another thing coming. Now, moving forward to Tim, look, I think Tim is one of the best in the world. You can't argue. He's doing it time and time again. I think Thurman is a legit opponent. I think he's only lost, bar the one or two. He's amazing, right? Again, has he campaigned at super welterweight? Against high-level guys that active, you know, he's had a lot of time inactive, but again, coming off what I've just said, does that play a factor? Has he been training? He's climbed the mountain. I don't know. There's so many factors that do go into it. I think Tim is just a big, strong, mean, fast dude. I think he's been super active. He's on a roll. I'm a big believer in the come-ups, you know, whether it be the McGregor era or this era or that era. You see that energy go through. I think Tim's on a bit of a roll. I don't think anyone's going to beat him at this point. So I reckon, in my opinion, I think he'll get him out in probably 5 or 6. I don't think it'll go past the midway.
I wasn't going to ask you this, but I'm going to ask it now that you've talked about it. Well, not talked about it, but I'm going to back off that. Is, you know, I've asked you about a fight in boxing. I want to ask you about a fight in MMA. Israel Adesanya, a good friend of yours as well. Obviously, the loss last year against Strickland, but he's now positioned to be in a title fight. Looks like, you know, Dricus du Plessis. I know you follow the UFC. I guess, I think Izzy's been pretty... I mean, he had one of the greatest title runs in history, and the activity he had throughout that time. What are your thoughts on him now moving forward and facing Dricus du Plessis?
As far as striking and fighting goes, no one's better, and I'll stand by that. I think that in fighting, you get caught, you lose fights, the camps, the mindsets, the moments. You could break your hand mid-fight, the whole thing shifts. You get dropped, you're rocked, am I okay? You spend the fights figuring out how to hit to move, not hit to hurt. Like, everything starts to change as you fight, and you don't really know unless you're in there. I think that on a good night, everything goes his way. He gets it done. We've seen it time and time again with every fighter. I'll obviously back Izzy, no matter what he does. But yeah, I think when you look at the difference in striking, you look at the difference in ability, you look at the difference in everything, I think that the top guys, again, like guys like Pereira, guys like Izzy, they belong at the top. And everyone talks about they've lost and they've fallen off and this and that. You lose, you win, you draw, you have injuries, you do good, you fuck up. That's the sport, right? So I think that a loss isn't a bad thing. I think he, again, goes back to the drawing board, works a lot harder, learns a lot, comes back in, and I reckon he'll get the belt back without a doubt. Last
thing, and I'll leave you with this, which I think is a pretty important message to people that are watching and maybe going through a similar situation, maybe not with boxing, maybe with life. What have you learned about yourself throughout this whole, you know, inactivity period and troubles ordeals you've been going through with management and everything else? What have you learnt most about yourself throughout this sort of period?
Look, it's nothing I didn't already know, but for me it's just more about pushing through. It's just perseverance. It's all you never watch a movie and skip to the end to watch the happy ending. You watch the plot because that's the important part and it's what makes the ending great, right? So this is all about just not having a blueprint to run off. It's creating the blueprint. It's creating memories. It's creating moments. There's going to be hard times. There's going to be good times. Again, it's all each to their own. Some people are going to have different stories, but I've just found that it's been a really hard time. It's probably been the hardest 12 months that I've had in my whole 14, 15-year career. And to be able to start to see the silver lining on the other side of it, it's just super refreshing. And I suppose it just teaches you just to take a big bite and chew like hell and just keep on pushing forward. And don't worry about the negatives, just control on the positives that you can control, and everything else is out of your control.
Yeah. Well, look, man, it's awesome that 2024 we get to see you return at some point. I know from a friend of yours, a fan as well of what you do in the ring. It's going to be good for everyone to see you back in the ring and see you compete and see you chase that world ranking and the dreams that you want to chase. We all look forward to it. And man, look, next time we do one of these, it'll be before your return fight. So I look forward to it. But it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for the time, bro.